Hey guys, this is Bigo's Adventures back with another review, and my apologies for my voice sounding all nasally and sickly. Still recovered from a sickness, so probably in the next few reviews, you'll probably have to hear my little bit of a sick voice. But I am recovering, guys, so um, please, please, be patient. But before we get into this review, um, I got a comment, and yeah, um, I'm gonna go ahead and answer this comment really quick. It's from Mustafirum8726. My apologies if I mispronounce your channel name, but they asked, "Have you seen Tarzan's Secret Treasure from 1941?" Um, Not yet. But I will eventually do. I have the movie on DVD, but I've got some other movies and stuff, from the 1930s and also a whole bunch of Looney Tunes, stuff, so I will get to that movie eventually. I don't know when, probably in a, a few years, probably, considering I have a lot of shorts to go through, but I will cover more Tarzan films eventually, like um the one coming up after this video, or like after this review. Hopefully I don't have to split it in parts like last time, but thank you for your comment. Um that just to answer to your comment, I am currently going to be working on 1934 stuff and then the year after that. So I will let you guys know whenever I finally reach 1941. It will be a little bit, but I will eventually get to it. Thank you for your comment, and we're gonna get started with our Son of Kong 1933. And here's a little bit of basic info about it. It was made only 9 months after the original King Kong. The budget was $269,000 because they was worried they wasn't gonna make that much money. They was trying to make a quick buck, and you could tell. And they made back about $615,000 with mixed ratings or mixed reviews. Which, yeah, that's what I gotta say about this movie. I have a mixed review about it, but we're gonna get started um, with our seeds. We see, of course, Carl Denham back in an apartment after what happened of the events of the first movie. If you didn't know, um, Kong got attacked by planes, so he didn't live. Um, so we see a girl reporter sneaking in and she wants to try to get a story. She's an interesting character. In my opinion, she has like a character. She's a very interesting character. I kind of wish we got to see more of her, in my opinion. Um, and then we see an old friend of Carl Denham's appear, and they go sneak out to the ship. Um, my thoughts, uh, because we see our famous Chinese chef Charlie. Yes, we got a name from him, Charlie. Um, which I was still shaking my head about because, like, at least he's better. He has more stuff to do in this film than the last one, so I guess that's okay. Um, but yeah, um, Carl finds an old friend as they go to see the skipper, which is like the ship hand of the first movie. My thoughts is that we could see Carl was sorry about what he did, which I think all he saw was money. And I still think he has problems in this movie because of with what's gonna happen. The next scene is that we see Carl and the skipper meet on the ship as they talk about leaving because Carl's in trouble for um what happened. Which I mean, I don't blame the people at all, but they really try to make us feel bad for Carl's Adam. Um, and then we see his friend come up and say, "Hey, you're gonna get indicted." And Carl's like, "Yeah, I'll just go with the skipper." So he leaves the country. He leaves the country. Um, and my thoughts is like, still wish we got an update on Jack and Anne, even if it wasn't like an on-screen update. I was hoping the skipper would be like, "Hey, they're they just don't like us. Remember that couple that went with us? Yeah, they aren't a fan." Which I could see how Jack and Anne aren't talking to these guys anymore because, yeah, I feel like Anne hates Carl, in my opinion. Um, but that's just what I think. Um, the next scene is that they appear in Duquesne, or yeah, I believe that's the place. I don't know exactly where it's at. But as Carl wonders about Skull Island, foreshadowing that they will eventually go to Skull Island again because it is the son of Kong. So we will be going back into Skull Island. Um, and the skipper has some problems with the crew because the crews are kind of like suspicious of the skipper and Carl. Uh, and my thoughts before they like revealed it, it was like as if the crew didn't know where the boat was at before. So yeah, the I guess the skipper didn't really tell them where they was going. The next scene is that we see Carl and Skipper at the shore as they two watch a show with monkeys and a ringleader doing their own little acts because they find an act and they were like, "Hey, maybe we can watch it." And then we meet our leading lady in this one, which I have some opinions about her. Um, his daughter Hilda or Helene. We don't really get a name, so I think I'm just gonna go with what they call her in the credits, which is Hilda. But she can also be called Helene. Um, she sings a song. Carl senses potential in her after her performance, and then afterwards we see Hilda and her father argue about him having company because she really has not the greatest idea of the guy who's coming over. So, yeah, my thoughts is that she seems more interesting than Anne, in my opinion. Absolutely. Like, her character, I feel like, did a little bit more stuff in this one than Anne. So, I feel like the female character in this one was better written. That's the only good thing I have to say about this movie is that the female character had a better story, in my opinion. Um, Next scene is that we see the ringmaster. I don't know the guy's name, so I'm just calling him the ringmaster. And then we see a guy where he calls Iran captain, and I was shocked as you guys are whenever I found out who the guy was. Um, they was drinking, and the two get into an argument, and The two fight over a bottle of alcohol, and he smashes the wine bottle and knocks the guy out as the tent sets on fire. Hilda wakes up and she saves the animals. Um and the tent burns down as she drags her father and her suitcase out. And the father doesn't really say anything, but she has clues of maybe she knows who did it. Yeah, her father dies, which I don't know how he would die over a little bottle of. I guess that. I guess wine bottles was harder, like hard glass. So I don't know. I don't really get how he died. Let me know in the comments what your guys' theories was. Like I have another theory, but you guys probably won't like it. Which is like maybe Hillstrom. Yeah, that's the guy's name. Hillstrom poisoned his drink, and then I guess that's how he died after getting knocked out. My thoughts is like at least Hilda is a character with having some sort of motivation in this movie. Yeah, because Anne, she goes with it. Hilda, we at least have a little bit of motivation of like, hey, this is her story. Um, and hey, this is what she's gonna do for the rest of the story. And yeah, her character seems a bit more interested, in my opinion, than Anne. Um, but that's just me. We see the next scene. We see Hilda calling out to the monkeys because she let them go, and they don't want to return. So yeah, her and Carl meet for the first time, and I'm uncomfortable with their relationship because he sees her more as a child, even though she's like still a grown woman. But he keeps calling her kid. Um, I don't know if you guys agree with that, but yeah, I just don't agree with him calling her a kid because she's still a grown woman, maybe in her early 20s in my opinion at least. Um, but yeah, I was just uncomfortable with their interactions. Um, and yeah, we learn about her backstory, about her father, how he used to be in the circus, and then he got kicked out because he had a drinking problem. Of course, we seen that's what happened before he passed away. My thoughts is like, um, at least we know the backstory of Hilda rather than Anne. She just appeared. All Anne talked about was having uncle somewhere, and she like agrees to go with Carl on the ship. While this one, she tells like a whole little backstory, which I think is more worth it, and just to watch the film, in my opinion. The next scene is that we see Hilda and the captain guy having an intense conversation. Like my thoughts was like, man, he's gonna be the villain, and his acting is amazing. And I'm being sarcastic because his acting was just terrible. Like, oh my goodness. Like, you could tell he's a villain a mile away. And they just picked a bad actor, in my opinion. Um, the next scene is that we see Carl and the skipper at a bar, and then we see the guy from earlier, which is the captain, and we find out that he is Hillstrom, which I already said from earlier, and he was the guy that gave Carl the map to Skull Island to capture Kong. So I was kind of shocked about that. I didn't think that they would bring any more characters or mention anything past the first movie. But yeah, that's kind of cool, and we kind of got hints about the guy from the first movie, so they brought him as a villain in this movie. Um, and he lets them know like, hey, there's a treasure there. Even though we find out what's going on, like at the end of the movie with him, um, they agree to go back to Skull Island to go get the treasure because they see money signs in their eyes again. My thoughts. I feel like this Hellstrom is going to be a weak villain. He really is. He really is. He really is. And I'll tell you all the accomplishments he tries to do in the upcoming scenes. The next scene is that we see Hilda and Carl saying goodbye as he hands her money for another ship because he can't take her with him because he's in trouble with the United States, and it would just be more of a risk. Um, my thoughts is like, please don't make this into a love story, and unfortunately, that's what it's looking like it's going to be turned into, even though I feel uncomfortable with it. The next scene is that we see Carl, the skipper, being suspicious of Hellstrom because they're back on the ship and they left already. Um, as Hellstrom tells some of the crewmen about his plan of just dropping them off of at Skull Island, and then we see uh, one of or the chef, which is Charlie. He finds Hilda and he shows Carl and the skipper Hilda, and then we see Hillstrom, and they're just having an intense stare down of like, yeah, we don't like each other. My thoughts is like, I get popcorn because the drama is going down between those two. The next scene is we see Carl and Hilda interact more after Hillstrom warns her about, hey, you'll just be kicked off the ship as well if you let them know. Um, yeah, I and my thoughts is like I don't like where this relationship is going on between Hilda and Carl. That's like it gives me a nasty taste in the mouth, especially after he calls her kid. I wouldn't if I had like a significant other. I would not call them kid. I just feel super weird. The next scene is that we see a crewman call out Carl, the skipper, as the crew kicks them off, along with the cook, um, and Hilda. And Hillstrom tries to be like, hey, I'm your new captain. They kick him off as well, like, great timing. So they all go to Skull Island because they eventually are at Skull Island. My thoughts is like, I thought it was alright. Like, the crewman wants us to hate them, but like I don't blame the crewmen because I I just think it's stupid that they would want to try to return to Skull Island. Oh, my apologies, guys. Dang, I'm recovering from the sickness. But yeah, the next scene is that we see everyone that got kicked off the ship go to the shore, and we see the tribesmen from the last movie who are absolutely angry with them, saying, you guys are not welcome here. You took Kong. We know you took Kong. You destroyed our villages. Like, we're not fans of you. So you could go ahead and go. So they leave. My thoughts is like, stay because I would be effing pissed too if like someone who was responsible of making us lose our village and then killing our god at the end. Mm-mm. The next scene is that we see everyone go to another part of the shore on the other side of the island, and we see Carl and Hilda go on ahead and find a little cog who gets stuck in quicksand, and this little guy is kind of adorable. Of course, he's way more innocent than Cog. He's just a little cute fellow. So I like him. I just, I don't know. I think the little Cog's adorable in my opinion. Um, Carl soon saves little Cog as the ape runs just as the others come up. Carl lets Skipper know about Little Cog as Hillstrom takes the chef and Skipper as they get chased by Triceratops because they was trying to hunt for food because they got kicked off the ship, so they have to find food somewhere. Um, and yeah, they get uh surprisingly plot armor saves them. That's the only thing that I know. Um, my thoughts is like um they this scene seems too rushed in the story. Yeah, it does. Like the introduction of Little Cog, I was kind of hoping. Yeah, like I did hear like there was originally plans for more scenes on Skull Island, but they got cut because, or they didn't get made because they wanted to make it by Christmas by the end of the year, so they didn't have time. The next scene is that we see Carl and Hilda running away from a bear, which Little Cog saves them and eventually wins in the end. But he injured his finger as Carl and Hilda help him out as they bandage his finger up. Um, and then, of course, in return, Lil Cog gives them a coconut. And my thoughts is like it's not as iconic as that T Rex fight in as the Cog versus T Rex fight. Absolutely, like yeah, I don't. I'm not a fan of that little fight, and the animation seems a bit rushed. Which I mean, I don't blame them. They only have like a few months to make it, so and I did hear like stop motion animation takes a long amount of time. Um, so the next scene is that we have another interaction between Hilda and Carl as they worry about the others. They could have cut that scene, in my opinion. That's what my thoughts still say. I still don't like this. They could have cut this scene, in my opinion. The next scene is that we see the others eventually come out of the cave. Um, my thoughts is like they have a plot armor. They actually do because like they're anybody with important characters, they stay alive. So yeah, the next scene is that we see Carl and Hilda soon find the treasure that was told by Hellstrom, and they get attacked by a similar creature like the snake that attacked Cog from the last movie. Um, and Lil Cog kills him. I think it's a better fight than the original Cog, at least, but that's just my opinion. Um, the others soon return back and reveals Hellstrom reveals that there was no treasure originally. So he sees little Cog and he runs off and he gets eaten by a brontosaurus type of creature. Of course, they didn't learn from the last movie. I don't know. But yeah, Hellstrom dies, and that's all he does in the movie. The only major thing he does in the movie was try to become captain and try to be like, hey, I need to get out of here. So he was trying to find an escape route, and he just got caught up with the Skull Island thing, and he didn't do much for the movie. So a terrible villain, in my opinion. Um, and then when they come down to go to the boat, there's like this sudden earthquake, and like the island just starts breaking apart, killing all the island and the creatures in this movie. Like it was just sudden. There was no lore saying, which I kind of wish they could have replaced some of these scenes with lore or added a bit more time just to give us lore about the island. That is one thing I don't like about this movie. So eventually, the island sinks. Kong gets his leg stuck. He at least saves Carl at the end, as the others save Carl. Um, and that was the end of that scene. And I was like, man, this feels so rushed. It does. Like that whole treasure scene, and then the earthquake happened out of nowhere. I do have a theory that maybe it was the treasure that caused the earthquake because people was being too greedy. Um, but yeah, I just kind of wish we got more lore with Skull Island. The next scene is that a boat saves them as Carl and Hilda eventually meant they have feelings for each other as they sail away to whatever. We don't know what happens afterwards because they did make a third one, and they probably will never will they will never go back to this film uh, this film universe in the 30s. We will see Kong again, but not in that same universe. So yeah, my uh yeah, that's my final thoughts about the movie. It's just like I kind of wish we had more Skull Island scenes. I wish we had a bit more lore about the island. Maybe like maybe they could have said like this treasure was the heart of the island and said like this is why the dinosaurs stayed alive because this island is nature and like the thing of creation and stuff. I feel like maybe that could have made it more interesting. Okay, so my ratings is the story is a 4 out of 5. The story had potential. It's just with the pacing and some weak characters. Yeah, and a weak love story, in my opinion. I did not like the love story, but the story is still pretty good, in my opinion. It just felt rushed. It had potential. The characters was a 3 out of 5. Yeah, it was alright. The characters, like Hilda, Carl, and the skipper had the most interesting parts in this, while Hillstrom, he was just being evil for the sake of evil. Um, we don't really know much other than he lost a ship and he was just overacting. So that's why I put the characters 3 out of 5. And then the outfits are a 3 out of 5 because there are some pretty cool outfits in this. Hilda's little stage dress and the ringmaster or the ringleader's outfit was pretty cool, and the monkey's outfit was kind of cute. So that's why it was a little more higher than original King Kong, I believe. And then the setting and the music is a 2 out of 5. It's just the music was alright. It's just the sets wasn't the best. It was just like all in one location a majority of the time for the school island. Because other than that, they spend the majority of the time in Dukong or Dukang, and yeah, it's not much. Um, and then it gives it an overall rating of 3.2 out of 5. So it's not, it's an okay movie. That's what that means. It's an okay movie. You can watch it once and you don't have to return back to it. It's an okay watch. Uh, yeah, that's all I gotta say about this. I'm gonna try to end it here because my voice is all messed up from recording so long, and I've been drinking lots of water. Make sure you stay hydrated, especially if you live here in America and we're dealing with this huge heat wave here. So please keep yourselves hydrated, and hopefully you guys enjoy your summer. Um, Next review, we will come back to Tarzan, which we will get into Tarzan and his main 1934, our first film into 1934 as we end 1933 with this movie. So thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys next time. Bye.